to Todd Talk. Today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of keeping track of your keys.
Todd Talk is brought to you by Antonio's. We make sketty.
This is the first Todd Talk I'm making using this computer, so I apologize if the lights are weird or if the focus is funny. We're just going to deal with it. Do you know where your keys are right now? It's super important to keep track of your keys. Mine are like right over here and they have a little air tag on them, so I will never, ever lose them. But I have lost them. I want to tell you about 2 times specifically. First time was back in, I think, 2009. I used to live out in southeast Portland, and I would go for a run several times a week. The neighborhood that I lived in was pretty flat, and I had a nice little route that I would run down and then across and then back, and it was about a 5K when I would run this little loop. When I'd go for a run, I'd wear a nice light t-shirt and my fancy running shoes, and usually some light running shorts. Now, running shorts typically don't have pockets. They're usually really minimal, just really light fabric and not a lot else going on. Now, these shorts I had, they had a little pocket built into the waistband. It was probably about this big, and it was just big enough that you could probably get a house key in it. Not really sure why else they would put that pocket there. Often when I would go for a run, I would just take my keys and put my pinky through the key ring and then just kind of hold on to them while I ran. But this particular time, I decided to try that pocket out. So I took my house key and I put it in that little pocket and I went for a run. And when I finished my run, the key was not there. So I did what anybody would do and I retraced my steps. So I walked the route that I normally run, again, about 3 miles, and I was looking along the sidewalks and in the gutters and in people's lawns, and the sun was starting to go down, and I couldn't find the key. Super frustrating. And at this point, I owned a condo. I wasn't renting, so there was no landlord to call. And so you get out your phone and you start looking through locksmiths. And these listings are the sketchiest things you've ever seen. Most of them are not people answering the phone. Many of them are just answering machines. You leave a message and then they just come out and help you out. And locksmiths, like plumbers, work on something called the call girl principle. The call girl principle is that you tell the person how much it's going to cost up front and get that money. And then, regardless of how things play out, the money is spent. Because in the case of a plumber or a locksmith or a call girl, the value of the service diminishes quickly after it is rendered. When there is water pouring out of a broken pipe, you will pay anything to make that stop. And then when you see it takes them 2 minutes to make that water stop, you question the value of the money that you just spent. Much like if you were paying for the services of a call girl, I imagine. So this dude shows up in a van with a bunch of tools, and he tries some stuff. Tries jimmying this, tries doing that, and tells me that the only option he has left is to drill the lockout. And this sounds awful, and then you know you're going to have to replace the lock. So it is a brutal and loud process, but takes this big old drill and just puts it straight through the deadbolt and straight through the doorknob, and the thing opens. And then because you're wearing running clothes and you don't have a wallet on you, you have to go with the guy to an ATM to get money out and pay him. And it's more money than you care to pay, plus you feel weird paying the dude to destroy your lock. But that's just how it goes sometimes. And now I have a secret key hidden all the time. Oh, but it gets worse. There was one time around 2014, 2015 where I went hiking. I live up in the Pacific Northwest, and if you drive about an hour outside of the city, there's really picturesque waterfalls and national forests and some really great hikes. So on this particular day, I had driven out about an hour, and I pull off onto the shoulder of the road where the trailhead is, and I get into my trunk. And in my trunk, I've got my day pack that has like my water and my camera, and then also in the trunk are my hiking boots. So I put my wallet, my phone, and my keys in the day pack, and then I sit down on the bumper to put my hiking boots on. And after I get my boots all laced up, I stand up and I shut the trunk. And inside the trunk is my keys and my cell phone and my wallet. So I walk around the car and check every door once or twice just to see if there's a way I could get in. Because if I could get in, I could probably lower the back seat and crawl into the trunk. But no, it's all locked up. So I scream and curse for a couple of minutes. And then you figure, I've got to do something. So on the side of the road, I find this rock. And I decide I'm going to break one of my windows. You know, at first I was imagining I'd break one of my backseat windows, and then I realized, you know, there's that little like triangular window that's kind of in the corner. Maybe that would be the best window to break. And so I take this rock and I throw it as hard as I can at this glass. And you would not believe how difficult auto glass is to break. This rock would just bounce off of the glass like I was throwing it at a wall. At first I was afraid of throwing it too hard because I didn't want to go through the window and then like mess up the interior of my car. But it got to the point where I was throwing this thing like a major league pitcher, like as hard as I possibly could to try to get this rock to go through the glass. And eventually it did. And with mixed emotions, I unlocked my car and got my cell phone and my keys and my day pack, and I went on the hike. And then of course later I got the window repaired. The little window costs less than my deductible, so I just had to pay for it. I kept the rock. And those are the 2 worst times I've ever locked myself out. I've locked myself out other times, but there's always been somebody home, or somebody going to be home, or somebody else can let you in. But those 2 times, those were rough. So keep track of your keys, kids.